Also, another lesson learned on doing it again is not starting off with Instagram. It was great. I doubled my income in a very short time of what I was making in the military, which is the reason I decided to do this full time. But had I done this on YouTube instead, I think I would have scaled faster.
This is The Agent Goldmine, where you'll find real talk, shit talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what the killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it. All tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy.
Welcome back to another episode of The Agent Goldmine, where today we actually do not have a special guest. We are talking amongst ourselves. Shelby and I are going to be diving into a little bit of lessons learned, specifically when it comes to lead gen, because I think everybody can always learn more opinions and have more tools in their tool belt. What the hell is it called? I'm clearly not a butch lesbian. And so we're going to talk lead gen, what we did when we first got started as agents, and kind of what we would do now if we were to start over, which I will be starting over because I will be moving at some point out of Tucson. So let's hit it.
Let's hit it. Allie with the intro. Woo, woo. Cool. Dude, I'm excited. This is going to be a good one because, we talk about lead gen all the time and marketing and having a strategy and going after it. So it'll be really fun to rewind and think about how we did it when we didn't know our from a hole in the ground and how we would do it now if we were to start all over again today. So, Allie, I think everyone knows, but just in case, when you were first kicking off your business, how did you get your leads?
So my first episode on this podcast, what is it? The second episode that we have, that has I think majority of the full background story on me. But to summarize it, I got licensed in 2021. I was active duty Air Force, so I did it part-time, and I leveraged that. The sphere was all military. They were constantly moving, PCSing in, PCSing out, did a lot of referrals. So before I even got my license, I started telling everyone that I knew. And yes, the majority of my business has come from social media. I will always be the biggest proponent of social media because it's free, but it was a lot of, it was a lot of outbound. And I don't think a lot of people understand how many messages I was sending out in order to have 6 conversations a day, every single day. That was my goal. I did not go to sleep until I had 6 conversations about real estate. And so that was it. I started marketing myself before I even had my license, right? Hey, I'm going to get my license. It's that way I started building my pipeline. And what was the other half of yours? Yeah, go ahead, Shelby.
When you're having these 6 DM outreaches, okay, because first of all, most people are like, oh, Allie gets her leads from Instagram. They think that you just post and they just fall into your lap. All these people are just showing up saying, Allie, please be my agent. But what you just dropped in there is that you were doing a lot of outreach behind the scenes. So when you were messaging people, what were your conversations like?
I didn't want it to be cold. So again, people that were already following me on Instagram, they already know you, right? So it was a warm touch. So both on Facebook and on Instagram, I would look at their page first. What's the latest happenings in their life? Did they just get a new dog? And literally anything. Especially birthdays, I would message people happy birthday, but more than just the normal, boring happy birthday, personalizing it, making it a video, and just making my message stand out more. And truly wanted to know what was up in their life. Because again, these were warm touches. People already knew me. We already had a relationship. So, but it was just making sure that every week I was talking to even more, I don't want to say new people because we know each other, but people that I hadn't touched last week.
And it wasn't about real estate necessarily. It was literally about them entirely. Not even at the end. By the way, I'm an agent.
Well, I mean, at the end, it would turn into that. So, yeah, but yeah, I wouldn't start off saying, no, definitely no copy and paste. Hey, I'm Allie. You already know me. I'm actually getting my license. I'm actually getting out of the military. So, if you know anybody. No, it was definitely none of that. Dude, I just saw you got a dog. If I weren't allergic, I probably would get that same type of dog as well. And then that's it. Oh my gosh, how have you been? We haven't spoken in 6 years. Yeah, I know. It's been crazy. I live in Tucson now. What about you? And just the back and forth. And naturally, where does that conversation end up? What's new with you? And that's where that's a super pivotal point because you could either just kill the conversation there, like, oh yeah, I'm a realtor, so in case you know anybody, keep me in mind. And then they're like, okay, cool, yeah, whatever. But instead, or instead you can actually provide them value. If you know that they're in Hawaii and they're looking to PCS and, wherever, that is the play that I went after. It was more of a referral. Like, hey, if you need a connection to a good realtor who actually understands what PCSing is like, who actually might even still be in the military, so they truly know and like will help you hook you up with like a good area, let me know. I'm here for it. If not, like, no big deal. And that was typically my line.
I have another question. So you have this line and you have in the front. I'm raising my hand for those listening. Okay, so you have this like awesome little back and forth. And are they going into a CRM with a reminder to check in again? Or is this like one of those times where you like wake up and you open up your Instagram and you're like scrolling or seeing who's on a story and just picking and choosing that way? Just curious in the beginning what it looked like.
Yeah, in the beginning, I did not use a CRM. My Instagram was my CRM, which is not a good CRM at all when it comes to follow up and reminders. But I mean, the best thing I could do there in the beginning was keep messages unread. Like if I knew that I needed to follow up or set an appointment or find an agent for them, it would be unread. However, sometimes whenever there's like an update with Instagram or some technical you can lose all the unreads and then you're lost, right? Like that's it. That's what you were relying on. So never do that. Yeah. And then, so if I were to do it again, starting from the beginning, it would just immediately go into the CRM. And does that take extra time? Like it takes so much time actually to put somebody into a CRM. It does not take 5 minutes. Like,
right.
If you, like their name, the number, their email, their location, and then the follow-ups. And it's a lot.
And how it loads. It's not instant. That's what drives me crazy is that like when you put in the notes and it like saves, there's this like extra half of a second. And those half a seconds that add up, I literally just lose my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
okay, sorry.
I don't think mine is as slow as yours. Maybe you just need to close some tabs.
Or stop watching.
Stop watching.
Close the tabs. Okay, got it. Thank you, Allie. Taking notes. Got it.
Yeah, no, but so that's definitely what I would do again. And I know that I will forever preach social media. However, also another lesson learned on doing it again is not starting off with Instagram. It was great. I doubled my income in a very short time of what I was making in the military, which is the reason I decided to do this full time. But had I done this on YouTube instead, I think I would have scaled faster. So now I'm preaching to everyone in my downline. I'm like, dude, if you want social media, do YouTube first. Start a channel.
Yeah.
Start a channel so I started a channel, listen to Sam Cottle's episode, whatever that episode might be on this podcast. It's a great one. And so Sam and I have been talking a bunch and I started a living in, you know what? I don't even want to announce that portion, but because I don't want it to like mess up the algorithm. I only want it to be those that are actually truly looking. So do not look for my YouTube channel, please.
Well, that's a good point. You want to explain that point that you just made?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he explained it too, but I will explain it again. When you make a YouTube channel, apparently, I didn't know this. Shelby, you didn't know this. You're not supposed to share that link to other people. Like a lot of people think, oh my God, I want to get a lot of views on this. So let me just share it to everybody in my database, which is what I was doing. And it is the wrong thing to do because sometimes people in your database don't actually care about the topic. So therefore the click-through rate is going to suck. They're not going to watch the whole thing. That only tells YouTube that your video sucks, as opposed to the organic growth that YouTube will generate on its own because they want to push your video, as long as it's a good video, to those that will actually watch it. So don't share your videos with anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It screws up the algorithm. Yeah. Which is what you just said.
Yeah.
You like my 2 cents there. You're welcome. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So, okay, you did the Instagram focus in the beginning, sphere of influence, heavy on not just posting, but also outreach, the one-to-one warm outreach to capitalize on referrals and anyone local, everyone and their mom, which has probably led into the reason why you were able to cap this past year, cap and hit icon as a referral. Sorry. Also cutting back on
Are you okay?
Just kidding. Yeah. Well, and it's also the reason why you built out your referral business the way you did, because capping and making icon on referrals is actually insane. So anyway, okay, so that's what you did. And then moving forward, if you were to do it again, you would do YouTube focus. I'm very distracted. What are we looking at here? What is this?
Okay. For those watching on YouTube, this is a board that I made. You can go ahead and freaking just take a screenshot of this as long as it clears. It's too bad. No, it should be fine. This is a whiteboard that I made when I first started. I read one of the first books that I read when I became a realtor was the book Traction. And that was so helpful. That is
Totally.
how I determined how many conversations I needed. Everything and everyone has a number assigned to them. That was my biggest takeaway of the book. My number was 6. In order to make $308,000, which is my goal, at a $375,000 purchase price, average purchase price, I needed to make 6 conversations a day about real estate. Is that 6 outreaches? Absolutely not. That could have been like 24 outreaches sometimes, but I broke it down annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. And that's how I got my 6, because everyone's like, oh, what's the importance of 6? That was my reverse engineered math. And there's so many different like exercises you can do to get that. It's, if you have any questions, hit us up. We do this all the time with agents. So, but this is the goal. This is the whiteboard that I had the first 2 years that I was an agent. I looked at it every day. And that alone was enough to drive me to get those 6. That plus the goal of $308,000.
Thank you for listening. Out of respect for your time, we want to make this show as valuable as possible for you. So if you have any feedback on how we can improve, please let us know. DM us at Allie the Agent and The Shelby Show.
Plus a lot of personality and energy and motivation and grit and all of the things that make you unique and wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. And also my like need to give this sounds bad, but I'm gonna say it. My need to give the middle finger to my prior employer. I was like so upset with I was depressed. I had anxiety in being in a W-2 and I hated it. So, and a lot of people just kind of were stuck in it, were telling me that like, not directly that I wouldn't get anywhere, but that is a huge mindset when you're in a W-2 surrounded by other W-2 employees. It's kind of just like tit for tat, like I did my, 2 weeks, now I get paid. And now I sit around and do another 2 weeks and now I get paid again. So they get stuck in that mindset of not not going after it. And that was not the person that I was, but I was becoming that way. I think had I done 20 years, I would have been really lazy had I, by the time I retired. I don't know if I'm making sense, but anyway, I got out of there and it's the biggest like FU that I could have done. Like, hey, I'm now making 3 times the amount that I was. And you thought that I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Suck it. Yeah. No, I love that. And I love that you have that drive and that the complacency isn't there at all. I do think that that's one of the biggest issues that are across industry wide. And that's probably why so many agents are getting out of the industry now. It's because things got hard and they don't have. This is an example. I'm not going to call him out. He's one of our newbies who I love very much, but he needed to get something for Drake to help set up his like Google page, Google business profile. And it's been a month now. And Drake asked for it a while ago. And then Drake is following up with this new agent asking for this information to help him build his profile. And when asked about it, he's like, oh, I asked for it. I'm just waiting. And I'm like, how many times did you ask? Who did you call? How many people did you DM? Did you, like literally where's the fire? Because no one is going to care. No one cares about getting that other than you. Like you're the one who is in control of your destiny. We're just trying to help over here. And if we care more than you and there's no press from your end to get it done, then like you might as well just quit now because there ain't no space for you in this industry.
Yeah. And that's exactly what the W-2 mindset teaches, I think. Like, unless you happen to be in a specific role where follow-up is like what your role and responsibility is, that that is why people leave. Like I don't know, they just do not have enough drive. They don't realize that it takes a lot of effort. And the effort isn't just like making a video. Like it's a lot of follow through.
Totally.
I could go on a very long time
Dude,
about
same.
that.
Both of us could. Okay, let's go over, like, can we go a little deeper into if you were starting over? What that would actually look. Do you want to go deeper there?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
So especially since I'm going to be starting over, right? Like I will be moving out of Tucson at some point in the somewhat near future, probably. So not probably, we will be moving out of Tucson. So as soon as I know the next location I'm going to be at, I'm going to create a YouTube channel. It's going to be called Living in City. And obviously not city, whatever that city is. And I'm going to start making simple YouTube videos. It does not have to be complicated. Of course, there are ways to overcomplicate things and talk yourself out of it, but done is better than perfect. So I'm going to make videos saying pros and cons of moving to, say, DC. These are the different suburbs, like suburb A versus suburb B in DC. And pretty much actually taking the YouTube titles from Sam Cottle's episodes. So if you want the YouTube titles, go on theagentgoldmine.com and look up Sam Cottle's episodes. Caudle is his last name. And that's where you can get just a bunch of YouTube titles to start out with in case you don't have any content. And just a quick rant on that is a lot of people think when they're first getting started in social media, they're like, well, I don't really know what to say. And I'm like, the more videos you will make, the more content you will come up with. I have so many ideas right now because I'm just like making more and more content that I'm like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this versus this. And I don't have time to even make it all. So there definitely is no shortage of content. If you think that you don't know what to say, if you don't know what video to post, it's because you're not posting enough. I forgot what your original question was, Shelby.
I said go deep on what you would do if you were starting over.
Yeah. Okay. So I would build that up.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. And like consistent, a lot of people just are not consistent. And that's where realtors fall out, I think. So that's digital, right? That's YouTube, and you can repurpose that into all the other social medias. Cool. Also, what I would do is I would pick a neighborhood. This is not digital. This is more in person. I would pick a neighborhood that you feel comfortable and want to sell at. And when I say feel comfortable, there are a lot of times where people want to work a higher price point neighborhood than they actually currently feel comfortable at. If you start off with trying to go luxury and you don't dress the part, you don't talk the part, you don't connect with them, I think that would only hurt you. So you already have to put in your head, you are a luxury agent, or you are a, insert price point agent there. So otherwise, if you don't believe it yourself, those clients are never going to hire you, and you can door knock as much as you want. You will never get hired. So you really have to internalize, hey, this is the price point that I work at. I work $700,000 listings or whatever it is, whatever you want to do. So that's why I say be comfortable. So pick a neighborhood that you're comfortable in. And there is something that I heard that Tom Ferry is really big into, which is the lazy man C of A, where you can door knock and leave them a piece of something valuable. And what that valuable piece of paper is a screenshot of Zillow. So print out a screenshot of that specific person's house, and with just a simple either handwritten or printed out note, you can say, hey, this is what Zillow thinks your property's at. I have my own opinion. What's your opinion? I'm curious. Allie Garced, eXp Realty, this is my number. That's it. Do that over and over and over again. You will get people reaching out. And specifically Zillow, because that's what everyone looks at, right? So not everyone knows what the format of the MLS is, so I probably wouldn't do that, but everyone knows what Zillow is, so just use that to your benefit and put your contact information. If you were to do, I don't know, even 5 a day, I bet you'll probably get a listing the first month for sure. So that's, again, it depends on what your goals are, but that's an easy way to get started. So, and how much easier can it be printing out a Zillow where Zillow already has their number, whether or not the true price is higher? It doesn't even have to be higher. Zillow is probably incorrect either way. So either way, it opens up that gate for a conversation, and that's what you want. Because a lot of agents are like, oh, well, yeah, but Zillow actually says it's higher and it's actually not. They need to know that. They should know that. You're providing them value. So a lot of people are scared of door knocking and providing this. But if you truly believe that you are providing them value, you won't be scared anymore. You're helping out either whether it's your neighbors or whoever it is in that neighborhood.
Good. I love that. And actually, I haven't heard of that before. The Lazy Man CMA. That's genius. What?
I wish I came up with it.
No. Yeah, coined it. Okay, Allie.
Yeah. Okay.
What else do you have that in regard to what you would do differently or what you did to lead gen?
Another thing that I did was I applied to be on a lot of podcasts. So that got my word out as well. And then also that's additional content to be repurposed later on. So people are seeing that I am not shy in being an agent. I want to help you, whether you are moving from one city to another that I don't even have a part of. I might know a good agent there. And I know that a lot of agents, when they're starting out, going back to the digital, they want to provide market updates, whether it's to their sphere or, or to strangers in a neighborhood that they're farming. Market updates can go wrong real quick. And what I mean by that is a lot of clients or potential clients, like potential sellers, potential buyers, they're not analytical, they don't care about how many homes are on the market. So there are very, very specific portions of a market update of like the hot sheets of what you'll see on the MLS that will even apply to clients. And where I think a lot of agents make a mistake is they have access to this information from the MLS, which is great information. Don't get me wrong. Clients just don't give a shit. Like clients don't, if you're to say, hey, this is, back to your market update, Tucson, Arizona, we now have 2,000 homes for sale and average price is X and days on market is Y, list to sales prices X, and then you just continue on, you've lost everyone. How does that apply and help them? So one thing I think that a lot of agents get wrong is they don't say the punchline up front in a video. Of course, so this is where the differentiator is between like long form YouTube, where you can say all of that and explain why, but in a short or a reel, you want to keep that 20 seconds and they don't care. So what I think the most important pieces of the market updates is the list to sales price ratio, because that is where sellers are able to see, oh, okay, so if we list our house at X, we can get 94% of that or 102% of that on average. And another thing is there's just so many things you can do with these stats, right? What I would suggest not doing is saying how many homes are for sale. Compared to what? Compared to when? Is this good or is this bad? And a lot of agents don't make that final connection. So the very first sentence of a reel should be the call to action. Hey, if you're looking to sell a home, now would be the time. Or now is not the time. Maybe wait a couple of months and then hit them with that boring stat. And, I'm saying boring. I like those stats, but not everyone does. So make it apply to them as soon as possible right off the bat. Otherwise, people don't care. 2,000 homes on the market. What does that tell them? How many was it last week? How many last month? How many last year? But that was during COVID. How many couple years before that? What's normal? It's too much, and people will shy away from that and they'll just continue scrolling.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Just keeping in mind, like if I was listening to this or if I was watching to this, like how long would this hold my interest? So I play that game a lot. One of a girl in our team too, Yesenia, she's been on this podcast. She's working on getting her reels up and she'll send them to me and Drake. And we're like, lost interest or great or no, cut it in half, all that stuff. But, just keeping in mind, like if you were scrolling or if you were watching a YouTube video, like what would you need to see to grab your interest? Because it's probably not what you're doing. You think you need this explanation too. I see this a lot with like YouTube and social media where it's like, hey, I'm Shelby Johnson and I'm your, like go into this whole introduction. Like people don't give a about your
Yeah.
introduction. They just want to know what you're going to teach them, what the video is about, hook them quick. If you make it past the first, whatever X amount of time, then you can be like, oh, by the way, this is my show, subscribe or share or whatever the latest trend thing to say. But like, they won't get there. Well, that won't matter if you don't hook them in the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. And another thing that I'm learning too is because people drop off, whether it's shorts or long form, actually do the call to action first, even maybe not even do an introduction. People don't care who you are, and you just wasted 2 seconds, which is a lot. 2 seconds is a lot in social media
So
time.
long.
You guys know,
Yeah.
It's like, hey, my name is Allie. No matter how fast you say it, people don't give a crap. So, hey, if you're looking to sell your house in Tucson, Arizona, or in this specific neighborhood, this might be the perfect time. And then the why, which is the one stat, maybe 2 stats. And if you want to do more than that, like these stats are good again, but that's more so for long form video. So, but again, in that long form video, do the call to action, do the how this applies to them, what the stats are. By the way, my name is Allie Garced. Here's my information again. And also that's like stuff that you can just include in the description too. It doesn't, everything that you say or everything that you want to push out doesn't have to be verbal, so the rest could just be in the description. Yeah. So that's what I was doing. I was on a lot of podcasts. I was talking to as many people as I could. I was working 13 hours and I still am every single day. Like sometimes I'll work maybe like 9 hours, 10 hours, but I would say on average, I'm still now working 12 hours a day, every single day. And I love it. So I don't think that that's what people realize. Like they, again, carry that W-2 mindset over. Okay, cool. 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever it is. And then they're done. And sure, you could be done. Everyone has different goals. But if you're looking to scale and just scale, you're not going to get there that way.
I totally agree. And I'm with you, Allie. I work about 12 hours a day too. And I love it. You and I are the same in that way though, where it's like, dude, there are times where I'm like, oh, like, I'll just take a break. And then that lasts like 10 minutes because I think about what I could be doing during my break. Yeah. And to me, it's not as fun as working. So, because like business is this giant, fun, creative puzzle that you get to like have this amazing vision of your life and what you can create. And then it's like, wow, I can do that. Like it's better than an arts and craft project because you get to build something, watch it progress over time, and it can also make you money and build relationships and create a dent, in the world, a ding in the universe. So what is cooler?
Yeah.
We're nerds, I realize.
I don't know. I think we're normal and everyone else is just, I don't know. No, I completely agree. Like in a previous episode, I said all I want to do, like my end goal is just to read a fiction book on a hammock. And I try to reward myself sometimes, but like, okay, cool. Whatever I did, I try to reward myself 30 minutes, book on a hammock. But in those 30 minutes, I cannot relax. Again, I'm thinking of the opportunity cost. Like this is a whole 30 minutes where instead I could just be taking action. And I never used to be an immediate action taker. And I would be the person that would get stuck in the analysis paralysis, like on the investing side, which I don't really like talking about because I only work with investors that are like experienced. I would just get stuck. I wanted to read everything. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know every single option that I had available to me before I decided to make the first move. That was me as a person. And then I just started to I started to fall in love with the learning side of it. And that is not helpful to up to a certain extent, there's that like point of diminishing returns where at some point you're reading all these books, knowing what they're going to say, knowing what you should be doing right now, but you're just not doing it. So if you're at that point, put the book down and start, like pick one thing that you're going to do consistently and start on that. Because otherwise, yeah.
100% agreed. And what I've realized too is like, in the times where I'm like, oh, I'll rest for an extended period, or maybe I am like traveling or something and I can't get to work to, do the things that I want to do. What I realize is that like anxiety, I don't know if any of you guys, I'm sure people have anxiety who are listening to this. For me, anxiety builds and increases when I know that there's something I should be doing or facing and I'm not. And so by not taking action, it actually increases my anxiety. But the minute that I just face it and start attacking, chipping away, even if it's the smallest thing, just making progress, that anxiety really just releases and it just comes off my shoulders.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you've
Procrastination
experienced that, Allie.
is absolutely. Yeah. Like the thing that you have the most anxiety over is what you need to be doing. That needs to come number one.
Yeah. Totally.
Okay. So what did you do when you first started out, and what were some of your lessons learned of what you would do differently now?
Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us, we'll reshare that shit. When I first started out, I was in the Army and I knew a lot of people there, and I did very similar to you. I told everyone and their mom I was getting into real estate very aggressively with a smile. It's kind of my thing. I'm like in your face, but also you leave the interaction being like, I really had a great time. But anyway, so that's what I did with everyone in my unit. I had my business cards in the S1 office, so in processing, in all of the training rooms. And then I did that thing that I get about, which is fine, where I emailed everyone in the 82nd Airborne Division on the way out saying, hey, thanks for allowing me to serve. Please allow me to continue to serve in the form of real estate, and attach my business card. Do not recommend that. I'm not saying to do it. I'm just saying it is what I did. And so basically I took every opportunity that I could through those conversations, through those one-on-ones. But looking back now, what really brought me a lot of business that first year was what Drake calls core advocates. So there's people talk about your sphere of influence and they talk about referrals, right? So that is like one level, but the next level is the core advocate. And these are the people who will not just like be like, oh, I think Shelby's an agent, you should talk to her. They have the scream from the rooftops, oh my gosh, you're in real estate. I know this girl. She's freaking awesome. You have to call her right now. And so that is what I had through, I had my boyfriend at the time. I had my contractor, a lot of people from my unit. They were core advocates for me. And I look back on that because everyone's like, oh, I want that. I don't want just this person being like, yeah, I think Shelby's in real estate. I want that screaming from the rooftops. Well, I think that intensity is transferable. And the reason why they did that is because they trusted me through personal experience working together. These are the people from my unit, right? I had worked with them and shown that I was reliable on the follow-up game, the organization, all the things. They knew that. And also there's a difference between, I just got my real estate license. Let me know if anyone wants to buy, sell, or invest. That's one way. The other way is I am going to crush real estate. I'm going to do whatever it takes, and I'm going to be the best agent here in Fayetteville, and I will take care of your clients. And like the intensity is just different, and the level of confidence that you instill in the person that you're talking to is different. This is kind of similar to what Allie said before about if you decide to be a luxury agent, you have to decide, because those people on the other end of the transaction will smell it out in a second. If you're not committed, if you don't believe in yourself, why would anyone else want to, right? So the core advocates were one. I had a lot of people rooting for me. I also shared my story on social media. So everything that I was doing, I just shared as I went. I wasn't one like a big educator. It was more of just like sharing wins, sharing things I learned, sharing when I was walking properties, the picture at the end of each closing, that sort of thing. So social media, I was really consistent. I also started a meetup, which was really powerful for me. So Pints and Properties, maybe you guys have heard of it, maybe not, but pintsandproperties.com if you have it. And it is a real estate investors meetup that I started because I wanted to talk to other people about investing. And I felt like I had no one else to talk about. So started it. And with that, staying consistent on a meetup gave me the opportunity to market without being salesy, because there's a difference between on social media, like, I'm your real estate agent, here's the top 10 tips in home buying process, as opposed to I'm hosting this super fun educational quote unquote event where you can come grab a beer, hang out with your friends, learn about real estate investing, learn how you can use a primary residence loan to house hack, and then being really good about creating FOMO for those events. And if you're out there and you're listening and you want to start Pints and Properties, let me know. I have the checklist, all of my template emails, all the templated social media posts, all of that to provide to hosts, and it's free to host. So yeah, meetups was a big one. And I love meetups. I could go deeper on this just a little, because it is the best in-person drip campaign. because people don't want to read the emails. You know, the templated, boring emails. If you're going to do an email campaign, there's a way to do it right for sure. But most of us are like, oh God, that seems like a lot of time. Let's just use this one that's already created in our CRM that goes to people's spam or has like a, 10% open rate or something like that. But if you are doing a meetup and you can personally invite everyone you meet, oh my God, dude, come hang out with me. It's next Tuesday, 6 p.m. It's super fun. You're going to love it. We'll grab a beer and we'll learn something fun. Like, and by doing that in every month and inviting people there, it makes them feel special. You have that that interpersonal connection with them. You follow up afterwards. You have a reason to say, hey, thanks so much for coming here. The slides. Can't wait to see you next month. So I think that and creating FOMO at those events, the pictures, the stories, tagging everyone, sharing it on socials really helped solidify my name in the market, Year-1. And what else? The last thing that I think I did really well my first year to be Keller Williams Rookie of the Year for all of North and South Carolina, 48 closings, if you hadn't heard that stat already, which I'm sure everyone has. But I think that the biggest thing, literally the number one biggest thing, other than all of that, outside of all of that stuff that we just talked about, was the fact that I took every opportunity and ran with it. And what I see all the time in their industry now, it's like people will tell you what they want. They're usually not direct about it, but they'll be like, oh, walking through a showing. Oh, I wonder what this is. Or I wonder what this floor is made out of. Or man, I wonder what they would accept on this offer. Those people are telling you that they're curious about those things. And so what I used to do is like every little tiny wonder situation or thought that escaped people's lips, I would grab it and I'd be like, dude, I'll find out for you and I'll get back with you. And I'd write it down and I'd find the answer. And yeah, it was a lot of work researching, calling, figuring it out, following up. But I had a reason to follow up with these people. I did exactly what I said they were going to do, and I solved a problem for them. And that, time and time again, is what closed deals. Whereas most people, if they're like, oh, I wonder how much this costs, they'd be like, yeah, me too. And that's it. And that they would leave the showing and you'd be like, yeah, I don't know why they don't want to talk to me anymore. Like, there are so many opportunities everywhere that if you just paved the way for people, people follow the path of least resistance all the time. There's not many people who are out there shoveling the snow to create the path. But if you can clear the path, you can herd all the right to wherever you want it. So I don't know. Does that make sense, Allie? I'm sweating again.
Yeah. No, she just sniffed herself, guys.
Dude, I still have the deodorant problems. We're getting there.
Yeah, me too. I hear you. No, that completely makes sense. And I wanted to just regurgitate your point about meetups and inviting people one-on-one directly. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, if you were to just send a blanket text, which clearly comes from a CRM, or something that just isn't individualized and customized to them,
totally, yeah,
then they don't think they don't think that you're inviting them, and therefore there's less pressure for them to come. But if yes. I get an invitation directly from you, or whether it's text or a call or whatever, and Shelby, you're like, Allie, are you going to come? I'm super excited to see you there. I feel slightly obligated to come now. And guess what? I'm going to go and I'm going to like it. Yeah. And so that's the thing too. It just, again, don't take the easy way out. Like, the easy way, of course, is to just send one email, hope that people come. Similar to, I don't know, as a buyer side, just sending the offer, hoping that they respond back to you, no, call them, become friends with the listing agent, do whatever it takes, butter them up and say, hey, this is exactly what the offer is going to come in at. These are the bullet points. Make it as easy for them. Every single time you can make it easier for them, which there is a way for you to make something easier to someone in every single conversation, do it. That is how you can scale.
Yeah. I think so much of both of our stories really comes down to just not being lazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
I'd say I also attribute that to my upbringing, but also the military did teach me that is I'm trying to think of like a specific example because I know of like one instance in the military, which doesn't have to apply to just military, it's corporate, like where I was sending something to my boss and my boss responded back saying, actually, if you could do this instead, it would make it easier for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that makes sense. Like let me do that now for everyone, no matter what. Don't say,
Yeah.
I don't know, just always make it as easy as possible for them to say yes. Otherwise, of course, you're not going to have the amount of listings or whatever that you need, that you want.
Totally. Make it easy for them. The other thing that I didn't mention in my word vomit that I just did was podcasts, which this wasn't really year one though. So year one was everything that I just listed. And really it comes down to like aggressively grabbing every opportunity and taking even the slightest mention and turning it into something, like creating the own destiny. But anyway, after year one, the years following, podcasts were huge. And I know in the beginning, it's like, why would I go on a podcast? Like I haven't done, like, I don't know what I'm learning. And that's totally fair. But for, after you have some reps under your belt, going on podcasts is an amazing way to capitalize on someone else's entire audience, and tap into new eyes and new people who can now listen to you and choose whether or not you are the right fit for them. I love the pre-screen because the more that you can get out on social media or on podcasts or YouTube or whatever, the more eyes on, and then you're going to weed out the people who don't like you. The people who don't like cussing, they're not listening to this podcast. It's not for them, or the people who don't like, Allie and I are kind of brutal sometimes. We are. And so that's probably not for everyone, but that's okay because they hear that and they self-select. And then the people who are like, okay, that makes sense, it's a good fit for me, are the ones who choose to be a part of wherever you're going. And that works on the agent side of the house. It also works as an investor. It works in however you want to use it. So podcasts. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
what
absolutely. And you know what? I think that's I think that's why I like social media so much is you get to see me. You can interview me without us ever even having to jump on a call. If you like what I'm posting, if you like my personality, then at that point, that's going to solidify us working together. I don't have to push as hard. And yeah, does that turn a lot of people away? Yes. I like that. Like I don't want to be working with someone where I feel like I have to prove myself or I feel like I have to, do XYZ. No, I want you to like me. And then that's why I'm posting so much about me. If you don't like me, you would have never called me. I think that's why I always stuck with that instead of doing cold calling or a lot of like cold, I don't know, mailing.
Apple listeners, this short pause is to ask you for a review. Here's how to do it. Back out of the specific episode, go to the page where you see all the episodes, scroll down, keep scrolling. Perfect. Now tap those 5 stars. Thank you so much. Back to the show. Yeah, totally. And if I were to do it again, I think this also depends on like what season of life you're in, because this, if I were to do it again, is like a not 27-year-old Shelby season of life. This is like 33-year-old Shelby season of life, which I don't plan on doing this. But I think that it makes sense for people who maybe don't want to drive around all the time. People are like, oh, I don't want to work with buyers because I'm driving all over the place. Okay, perfect. That's fine. Or for people who don't want to work crappy deals. This makes a lot of sense to me because of how much control you have over it, in which this is picking a neighborhood and farming the out of it. And I don't mean farming. There's different types of farming, right? There's Bill Soul. Oh, he wasn't even on this podcast. He tried twice. He never could figure out the technology. That's fine. Bill Soul was on Real Estate Rockstars. You can listen to that episode. What he does is he sends mass amounts of mail, right? Like it's a machine of mailing. I think that if I were to do farming, I would do it as a more of a fun, lighthearted type of thing. And I would ideally want to do it in my neighborhood. So this would make sense if you like the people in your neighborhood, if those are the type of people you want to work with, and it's the price point that you want to work in. If those things don't fit for your neighborhood, pick a different neighborhood. Literally sit there and think about what type of people do I want to work with and what price point. And then draw a little radius around wherever your current location is, because we're not trying to drive all over the place, right? And pick a neighborhood that's like 15 minutes or less away from you that you can become the local expert for. And what I mean by this is like, dude, the riches are in the niches so hard. And if you can become an expert, like this literally, if I was going to do this over again, I would become a expert in this neighborhood. I would know about if there was an HOA, if there was the pool, how close the parks were, all of the school systems, every local restaurant, everything around it. I would walk those streets. What's CrossFit gym's closest? Like I would know all the events, everything that was happening in this neighborhood, I would know. And I would know all of the MLS data too. In the mornings, every day I would check just my own little neighborhoods. I don't care. I'm going to be an expert in my specific neighborhood. I'm going to know what's closed, what's active, what's pending, days on market, list to close percentage. I would know concessions. I would know the other agents who are listing in that area. Go so deep in knowing everything about this area. And then I would do whatever I think is fun to get my name out in that neighborhood. And that's something that I say now, having been in real estate for a while, is, in the beginning, sometimes you make choices because of whatever is going to bring you the most money or the quickest close, whether that means you take a hit in your sanity, right? But I think that my older version is like, what do I like doing? How can I do what I like and still build a business? So hypothetically, I would go to every freaking food truck Friday, which this is literally, I'm moving to Lexington, Kentucky in like 2 weeks, and they actually have food truck Fridays. It's like the cutest little suburbia. So I'm actually considering being an agent again, just because it would be adorable. But anyway, like going to those parties, and if they don't have parties, throw your own, do like a little, Halloween. And for Halloween, maybe you're going around and you're talking to people and you're dressing up, and maybe you're throwing the open houses, but you're not doing it because you're terrified and you need the commission. Maybe you are, but I'm doing it with a different perspective where it's like, oh, how can I make this the most fun possible? How can I make this super memorable? And then, of course, bring the social media into it. And if they don't have a Facebook page for the group, create a Facebook page, put them in there, tag the people, and just make it like very fun. And you know how good it feels when you know what you're talking about? If I had one neighborhood and I knew it inside and out, I would know everything about it, as opposed to like hypothetically here in Charlotte, you can drive an hour from one showing to another. How do you think that you're going to know every single bit of every single neighborhood? And you're always in that moment where you're like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, I'm going to figure it out. But, but if I had my one little neighborhood, I'd know everything about it. So I think that that's kind of what I would do. And I don't know, does that make sense what I mean about like what feels good? What would be fun? Does that make sense, Allie? I'm just spewing over here.
100%. That also is very like your personality, which is fun, outwardly appearing extroverted. So what would you do? I guess what would you advise those that are not that maybe they don't have the energy that you have just internally, them as a person, or they're just a little bit more on the shyer side?
I think that you should think about what you like and what brings you energy, because there are a ton of different ways to get leads within your business. And you should probably think about what you're already naturally doing, because everything works. Like if you're naturally right now, and by the way, it has to be something to do with people, because people have the money and they have the houses. But I would just think about what brings me energy, what interactions leave me feeling energized, where do I feel like a natural fit. I actually had a conversation about this the other day with a different Lizeth. She's lovely. She's a new agent in Charlotte, and she was talking about like, what would you recommend for building business? And I was like, well, do you like calling? Do you like social media? She's like, no, I really do best like face to face. I really do. That's the only place I feel good. I'm like, this was at a meetup. I'm like, girl, you're here. This is face to face. You can go and talk to people, and everyone here is interested in real estate. So you can have that conversation about like, oh, what do you want to do in real estate? And they're like, oh, I want to flip, or I want to whatever. And then you can be like, oh, that's freaking awesome. Have you already used your primary residence loan? Like, do you already have a house in the meantime? And they're like, no, hypothetically, no, I just want to flip. Well, awesome. You can still flip, but have you thought about, one of Charlotte is a appreciating market. It's a great place to move, all this, it's locking in that primary residence and also doing the flip on the side. And so we just talked about like, if you prefer a certain thing face-to-face, we also said open houses could be good for. Anyway, you have to think about where you feel natural, where you feel alive, where you feel in your element, and you can build an entire business around that. Does that make sense?
100%. Or at least it makes sense to me. I think it makes sense to everyone else too.
Okay, cool. And I don't think I would do a lot of calls. I don't think I would do a lot of mails. I would invite people to my events in my, and I would definitely do the Facebook group where that's a whole nother conversation. Have we had Charlie Cameron on here yet?
Not yet.
No, we haven't. We need Charlie Cameron to get on here and talk about his Facebook groups because that is like a whole nother freaking rabbit hole that we're not going to go down today, but that's also what I would do. Guys, that is all we have for today. You have heard it. You've heard Allie's way that she built her business and what she would do differently if she was starting now. You would hear the same for me. And if you liked this, please let us know. Or if you didn't, we actually want that more.
Yes.
Let us know at Allie the Agent on Instagram and the Shelby Show on Instagram, because we want to know if you like these type of episodes, if you like never want to see them again, you only want guests or whatever. So that's all we have for today. Love you so much. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep all our resources for you. Till next time.